So, what you have is that a lot of all Christians, right, Catholics, whatever, you have them all say that, oh, Jesus is God, and well, if that's the case, then we should be able to find that in Scripture. Like, you'd have to use all these different accounts to show that the Messiah, Christ, is God. And so, actually, we could take a look at some of those things. Um, and so, if he is God, right, then okay, the Christians are fine. But if he's not God, then they're breaking a lot of commandments, right? So, the first thing is that if Christ is God, right, and his true name is Yeshua, but let's skip over that fact for now. But if we show that he actually isn't God, then somebody else was received. But yeah, so if Yeshua is worshiping God, then he can't be God, because God can't worship God, right? Then he would have another God before himself. So um, Matthew 4, let's check that out. Matthew 4, verse 10. Then saith Yeshua unto him, Get thee hence, Satan. Right, Yeshua talking. For it is written, Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. So then it's like, because Satan was first telling Yeshua to bow down and worship him. Why would Satan be telling Yeshua that if he was already worshiping himself? Like, he's God. He wouldn't choose to worship anybody else because he is God. But Yeshua even says, worship only God, and him only shall you serve. Right? Because even Yeshua was worshiping God. And then so we got Luke 6. Starting in verse 11. And they were filled with madness, and communed one with another they might do to Yeshua. And it came to pass in those days that he went out into a mountain to pray, and continued all night in prayer to God. So he was praying to God. Is he praying to himself? Like, if he is God, then he's praying to himself. All right. So next, we have these different verses where Yeshua even tells you that his God is his Father. So first thing is in John 8, verse 41. Ye do the deeds of your father. Then said they to him, We be not born of fornication. We have one Father, even God. Right, so the Pharisees were claiming that their father was God. Right? I mean, that's what, like, anybody would. And so Yeshua makes it like the same claim. Right? Yeshua said unto them, If God were your Father, ye would love me, for I proceeded forth and came from God, neither came I of myself. He didn't come of himself. Right? If he's God, he would come of himself. But he sent me. Right? God sent Yeshua. God wouldn't send himself. God would have to send another person. And God wouldn't need to send God. He just goes. Then we got John 20. Verse 17. Is this it? Yeah. John 20, verse 17. Yeshua saith unto her, Touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father, but go to my brethren, and say unto them, I ascend unto my Father and your Father. So it's both at the same time, right? The disciples' Father and Yeshua's Father. And to my God and your God, right? Talking about the same person, right? It's their God and Yeshua's God. It's their father and Yeshua's father. And God can't have a God. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And then so we got Revelation 3, starting in verse 5. He that overcometh, the same shall be clothed in white raiment, and I will not blot out his name out of the book of life. But I will confess his name before my Father and before his angels. Right? Yeshua is going to confess before his Father. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. And to the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, These things saith he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David, he that openeth and no man shutteth, and shutteth and no man openeth. I know thy works. Behold, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it. For thou hast a little strength, and hast kept my word, and hast not denied my name. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews, and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world, to try them that dwell upon the earth. Behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. Him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God, or the temple of his God. Right, this is Yeshua. And he shall go no more out. And I will write upon him the name of my God. Right, Yeshua has a God. God can't have a God. And the name of the city of my God, which is New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of the heaven from my God. Right before he said it's his Father. And I will write upon him my new name. So, next you also have, this was shown in another verse, but Yeshua was sent by his God. Yeshua can't, God doesn't send himself. I already mentioned this. He's just going to go. He's just going to do what he wants. But if Yeshua is doing things that aren't of himself, then he can't be God, right? God does what God does. But so this is Deuteronomy 18, verse 15. The Lord thy God, and when you check the Strongs, right, for the Lord, right, that's Yehovah, that's the Father's name. Yehovah thy God will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me. Unto him ye shall hearken. Right, so this is Moses speaking. He's saying that this prophet that's going to come is going to be like unto him. Right, and that's Yeshua. Yeshua is going to be like unto Moses. He's going to be like this prophet that's like Moses. And even Moses, he was called a god to Pharaoh. Right, and so it's a similar sense with Yeshua, but he's not like Yehovah. Verse 16, according to all that thou desiredest of Yehovah thy God in Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying, Let me not hear again the voice of Yehovah my God, neither let me see this great fire any more, that I die not. And Yehovah said unto me, They have well spoken that which they have spoken. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee. Right, Yehovah speaking. He's going to be like unto the people. He's going to be a man. And I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. Right, Yeshua is not going to speak his own words, but he's going to speak Yehovah's words. If Yeshua is God, then he would just be speaking his own words. Right, he's going to be coming in his own name. But Yeshua comes in his Father's name. Because God wouldn't need to come in somebody else's name. It's like you have a king, and he's coming in the name of, this other guy. No, he's the king, so he could just come in his own name. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require of him. Yeah, because you have, say, messengers. You have a kingdom, and say you have, messengers. They're coming in the name of the king, right? They have, the same authority or whatever, because it's as if the king was there. Right, Yeshua was as if God was there, but he's not. God literally, but he's just coming in his authority. But yep. So now we got John 3. Verse 16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. So God gave his Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. For God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. Right? Yehovah sent his Son. He didn't send himself. But like, if it's all just God, right? If God is this Trinity being thing, then it would just be like, for God so loved the world that he sent himself in another form, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, it would say, like, for God sent not himself into the world to condemn the world, but that the world might be saved through himself, or through him might be, like, it's just nonsense. But, so now we got John 5. And I'll try to cover some of the ones that people like usually try to like use to refute or whatever in a second, or like when I finish some of these things. But yeah, so we got John 5 verse 30. I can of mine own self do nothing. Right, Yeshua talking. He can't do anything of himself. That's just like, that should be a red flag. It's like, if God can't do what, like, if God had, like, if he's the supreme being, right, but then he says, I can't do anything of myself. Like, it's no longer, like, he no longer has the God qualities, right? Because this, Yeshua is talking here. He no longer has the God qualities. If he can't do it, if he can't do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, then he's not God. I can of mine own self do nothing. As I hear, I judge, right? He's hearing what his Father says. And my judgment is just, because I seek not my own will, but the will of the Father which has sent me. Right? The Father sent him. Right? And then the Father is his God. But because I seek, like, he doesn't do his own will. He does the will of his Father. Like, because, I mean, like, just going back to, like, the king example. Like, so you have a king over, like, a kingdom. Like, if he's not doing his own will, but he's doing, like, the will of, like, somebody else, like, then he's no longer the king, because the king shouldn't answer to, like, anybody in that sense. But if I bear witness of myself, my witness is not true. Like, because, I mean, this is all just, like, debunking, right? Trinity and, like, Yeshua being God. There is another that beareth witness of me. I know that the witness which he witnessed of me is true. Yea, ye sent unto John, and he bare witness unto the truth. But I receive not testimony from man, but these things I say, that ye might be saved. He was a burning and shining light, and ye were willing for a season to rejoice in his light. But I have a greater witness than that of John, for the works which the Father hath given me to finish, the same works that I do, bear witness of me that the Father hath sent me. And the Father himself, which hath sent me, hath borne witness of me. Ye have neither heard his voice at any time, nor seen his shape. You've never seen the Father. Never, never, never. And then you see another place where he says that you've never seen God. And then even John, in, like, I think it's like 1 John, like 1, he says, like, you've never seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, he's been in the bosom of the Father. He's the one that's been declaring him. So now we have Yeshua. He grew in God's grace, and he learned obedience, right? Why would God need to grow in his own, like, grace is conviction. It's this thing that like teaches you to basically keep God's commands. You learn this in Titus 2:11-12. But like, if by the Christian definition, so we have this Luke 2, verse 52. I don't know if this is this one, but Yeah. So Luke 2 verse 52. And Yeshua increased in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. Like, why would Yeshua need to grow in favor with God? Why would he need to increase in wisdom and in stature? Like, God knows all things, right? He doesn't grow in wisdom. He knows all things. If God is God, he wouldn't need to grow in his own favor. It's now we got Hebrews 5, verse 8. Though he were a son, yet learned he obedience by the things which he suffered. Right, God doesn't need to learn obedience because he's like God. And being made perfect, he became the author of eternal salvation unto all them that obey him. All right. So now we got so Yeshua, he also does his Father's will, and I mentioned this before, but he doesn't do his own will. Like, it's again, like, God does his own will. He doesn't need to do somebody else's will. And he never does his own will, right? He, like, all the time, like, throughout the prophets, he says, like, for mine own sake, like, he's not gonna, like, pollute his name in the heathen, or, like, for my name's sake, right? Not for somebody else's name's sake, but for my name's sake. But then Yeshua says, I come, like, not to do my own will, but to do the will of my Father. I don't come in my own name. He comes in the name of his Father, right? It's always, like, pointing to this other guy, not pointing to himself. But so this is Matthew 26, verse 39. And he went a little farther and fell on his face and prayed, saying, O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt. Right, this is when Yeshua is about to be delivered, to be crucified. Like, he doesn't want to be crucified. And then he, he prays, he falls on his face and prays to God. Like, God wouldn't do that. Cause he can, like, God would just stand tall. And then Yeshua has to choose to not do his own will, but the will of somebody else. Now we got John 4, verse 34. So, yeah. Yeshua saith unto them, my meat is to do the will of him that sent me, and to finish his work. Right? The will of this other guy that sent him. Not like, because God would say, right, if this was God, it would say, like, God saith unto them, my meat is to do mine own will, and to finish my work. Like, that's what it would say. But since it's not God, he says, no. There's this other guy. Like, there's this other guy that I'm doing the will of, that I came to fulfill. Okay, now we got John 6, verse 38. So I'm going to start at, I'll start at verse 35. And Yeshua said unto them, I am the bread of life. He that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst. But I said unto you, that ye also have seen me, and believe not. Right? They have seen him, and they don't, like, but then you see in, let's see here, let me go to 1 John, So, you have John 1, verse 18. No man hath seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, which is in the bosom of the Father, he hath declared him. And then so in 1 John, you see the same thing. 1 John 4, verse 12. No man hath seen God at any time. If we love one another, God dwelleth in us, and his love is perfected in us. Right, so John says, while he's, like, well, I guess Yeshua says, in the Gospel of John, no man has ever seen God. And then John repeats in his epistle after Yeshua has already ascended, no man has seen God at any time. And then you read this verse in John 6, Verse 36, but I said unto you, that ye also have seen me, and believe not. Right? They have seen him, and they don't, and they don't believe. They've seen it, but then Yeshua says, you've never seen God at any time. John says, you've never seen God at any time. So it's like, you have just these clear contradictions. Because if Yeshua is God, then they've seen God. But nobody has seen God. Verse 37, all that the Father giveth me shall come to me, and him that cometh to me I will in no wise cast out. For I came down from heaven, not to do mine own will, but the will of him that sent me. And this is the Father's will, which hath sent me, that all which he hath given me I should lose nothing, but should raise it up again at the last day. Right? The Father's will, not his own will. It's like pretty simple. And then so the last thing I have in this little list is he doesn't know as much as the Father. Which, like, again, this is going back with some other ones. But, so John 13, verse 32. If God be glorified in him, God shall also glorify him in himself, and shall straightway glorify him. Is this the right verse? Oh, wait, I meant Mark 13. Whoops. Mark 13, verse 32. But of that day and that hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels which are in heaven, neither the Son, but the Father. Right, the Son doesn't know these things, just the Father. And then we have John 8, verse 28. Then said Yeshua unto them, when ye have lifted up the Son of Man, then shall ye know that I am he, and that I do nothing of myself. Nothing of myself. Right? God can do everything by himself. But as my Father hath taught me, I speak these things. And he that sent me is with me. The Father hath not left me alone, for I do always those things that please him. Right? Yeshua pleases his Father. But now I just have, like, this little thing that, like, I wrote up. But, like, if you say that Yeshua is God, then you have to also read the scripture like this. God sent God to fulfill God's will, while God prayed to God, and God forsook God. Then God let God kill God, and God resurrected God before God ascended to God to sit at God's right hand, where God intercedes with God while still being the same God. Or that's what you'd have to reason with all this nonsense. But so now you have another one that I like is Matthew 19. So starting verse 16. And behold, one came and said unto him, Good master, what good thing shall I do that I may have eternal life? Right, so this guy is calling Yeshua good. And then how does he respond? And he said unto him, Why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, and that is God. Right, so Yeshua's like, why do you call me good? There's only one good. That is God. Like, why would he have to say that if he's the one that is good? Where did I want to go? Oh, yeah. So John 1. So this is one that you're going to, like, hear from everybody. John 1, verse 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Well, I mean, like, you could also look at this. It's kind of like lying pen. Like, if they just want to push, like, Trinity garbage. But Yeshua was there in the beginning with God. Right? He was brought, like, because Yeshua says that he is the light of the world. And you see in Genesis 1, verse 3, that God said, let there be light. And there was light. Right? Genesis 1, verse 3 is when Yeshua was brought forth. Because you don't see that the sun and moon were brought forth until, like, the fourth day, I think. But so that John 1, verse 1, it's really bringing you to Proverbs 8. And it's talking about Yeshua. So Proverbs 8, verse 22. So the Lord, Yehovah, right? Yehovah possessed me in the beginning of his way, before his works of old. I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, wherever the earth was. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no fountains, abounding with water. Right, Genesis 1, verse 3, he was brought forth. Before the mountains were settled, before the hills was I brought forth. While as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he set a compass upon the face of the depth. When he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the fountains of the deep. When he gave to the sea his decree that the waters should not pass his commandments. When he appointed the foundations of the earth. Then I was by him, as one brought up with him. And I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him. Right, he was always with him. Rejoicing in the habitable part of his earth, and my delights were with the sons of men. Now therefore hearken unto me, O ye children, for blessed are they that keep my ways. Hear instruction, and be wise, and refuse it not. Blessed is the man that heareth me, watching daily at my gates, waiting at the posts of my doors. For whoso findeth me findeth life, and shall obtain favor of Yehovah. But he that sinneth against me wrongeth his own soul. All they that hate me seek death. And actually, like, going back to that Matthew 19, verse 17, right, where Yeshua says that, like, there is none good but one, that is God. Well, when you check, like, these other translations, like, so you check the NIV, they remove that part where it says, like only God, right? So this is Matthew 19, verse 17 in the NIV. Why do you ask me about what is good? Yeshua replied, there is only one who is good. And then that's all it says regarding that. Then it's like, if you want to enter life, keep the commandments. But you have King James, right? It says clearly, there is none good but one, that is God. But so now, let's see here. There's one last one I can point out. And this has lying pen and scribes to when you check other translations. But so Philippians 2, well, actually, yeah, there are some other things I could check out too after this. But Philippians 2, verse 6, who being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God. Right? So being in the form of God, like man was created in the image of God. Hey, Bello. But yeah, so you have Yeshua. He was made in the image of God, in the form of God, right? All people were created in the form of God, and then thought it not robbery to be equal with God. But it's not saying that he is God, because you even have, I guess, yeah. Before I go to that other place, so then when you go to like NIV, it just completely twists, like, even what it says. So this is Philippians 2, verse 6, who being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing, and such. But, yeah, it's just like saying, like, the other translations, they twist it to say, like, oh, he is God. But so then, this is the thing, like, all these verses that shows that, like, he is not God. So then, who is this guy that all the Christians are believing that is God? Well, so this brings you to 2 Thessalonians 2. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, right, the day of the Lord, the day of judgment, the sixth seal, shall not come, except there come a falling away first. Okay, we have this falling away. Everybody believes that Jesus is God. And that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Okay, so that guy has to be revealed. Well, it's probably this guy that we're talking about, this Jesus character, right? Because his true name is Yeshua, and I'll get into that in a second, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he is as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Right, and that's what all the Christians say. right? He is God. He is God. He's sitting in their temple, whatever. And then they don't even know the name of the Father, right? They just say, oh, the Lord, whatever. But then they call on Jesus and stuff. But so even Yeshua tells you about this. In John 5, verse 42. But I know that ye have not the love of God in you. I am come in my Father's name. Right? Again, pointing to his God. And ye receive me not. Right? There's like there's no really debate. It's just like, I'm come in my Father's name and you won't receive me. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. Right? Yeshua came in the name of his Father. He was always pointing to his Father. But then the person that the Christians believe, Jesus, he's always pointing to himself. I am God. I am God. Look at me. Look at me. Never pointing to this other guy. Yeshua came to do the will of his Father and to finish his work. Right? We already established that. But then you have this Jesus guy who's coming to do his own will because he's saying that he is God. Right? Because that's who God does his own stuff. Where did I want to go before this? I forgot where I was wanting to go. Because I went to 2 Thessalonians 2. And before that, I was in Philippians 2. Yeah, I don't remember. Let's see here. Maybe I already covered it. But, so what we have here then is, actually, I'll go to Deuteronomy 6. I like this one. So, Deuteronomy 6, verse 4. Hear, O Israel, Yehovah, our God, is one Lord. So he's one. Right? And then you have the Christians say, no, he's three. Or whatever. And it's even crazy. Like, I hear sometimes, like, where, like, you ask a Christian, like, what is, like, the Father's name? And then they'll say, like, Yahweh, Yehovah, whatever. And then you ask them, what's the Son's name? And then they'll, like, say Jesus. But then they'll also say that his name is also Yehovah, or whatever. Like, because they bunch it all together. They say that, like, that God's name is Yehovah, and then they put everything that's, like, ascribed to God as Yehovah. So then they'll say, like, that, like, Jesus is also Yehovah, and that, like, the Father is also Yehovah. And it's just, like, twisting everything. But, so, yeah, you have this Antichrist that's going to say that he is God. And then you even learn about this a little bit more in Daniel 11, where not only is he going to call himself God, but verse 30 it says, for the ships of Shittim shall come against him. Therefore he shall be grieved and return and have indignation against the holy covenant. So shall he do. He shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. So he's going to gain this influence over people, that this group of people that forsake the Ten Commandments, because that's the holy covenant. And the first commandment is, have none other gods before me. And they've created this other God, or this new God that is newly formed up. You even have the new Song of Moses, which is talking about these two different rocks, right? Which one is that is God, and this other that's like the one that they believe. And they didn't realize that they were following after a false rock, a false God. And so, like, you see in Revelation 12, verse 9, that the whole world is deceived, right? And then Matthew 24, except for the very elect. So, if the whole world is if all the Christians are believing, okay, Jesus is God, then it's, then they're deceived. And we have even, Christians is that you'll tell them, keep the commandments, and then you tell them that, and then they're like, well, do you believe that Jesus is God? That's the only thing that they believe. They just said that, all you got to do really is just believe that Jesus is God, and then you're saved. If you don't believe Jesus is God, then you're not a Christian. When that's not even that's not according to any scripture. Because even Yeshua says, you got to believe that he is the Son of God. And then you also have to keep his commandments. Right? God, he keeps the 10 Commandments. That's how you determine if somebody is actually following God. If they're keeping the covenants of promise. If they don't keep the covenants of promise, then they're not grafted into Israel. They're not a child of God. And then the Christians are like, oh no, because those Jehovah's Witnesses or because those other guys, whatever, I don't know. Because they don't, since they don't believe in the Trinity or whatever, they're just these just people that are just like so far off, whatever. When even themselves, I mean, like the Jehovah's Witnesses, they're also like off too, and because they don't keep the commandments, right? That's all what it's about. But since all these people, they don't keep the commandments of God, they don't have the Holy Spirit to be able to discern the scriptures. And like at least like the Jews, right? They have it right. Like they know that there's only one God, and that's probably like a big reason why they don't even like convert to Christianity, right? But then when you have these Messianic Jews that convert to when you have these Jews that convert to be Messianic, then it's so weird that they just change their belief and they're like, oh, wait, this Yeshua guy, he's actually God, and it's just nonsense. But yeah, hopefully you're able to see that Yeshua is not God, because you're going to be breaking the first commandment, and then you're going to go into great tribulation if you continue to break this commandment. So, yeah.